Welcome to the 3-Minute Relationship Reboot, a series of bite-sized skills to help you recharge and revitalize your relationship. The next skill I wanted to talk to you about is how to stop an argument before it even begins. I can't tell you how many times I've heard, well, if I have to tell them exactly what I want, it just doesn't feel like it counts anymore. Look, if you feel this way, and many of us do, you're probably setting yourself up for disappointment. And if he does try to read your mind, it's more likely that it will end up causing an argument rather than giving you exactly what you want. And science tells us there's no such thing as being able to read someone else's mind. In fact, a recent study out of Belgium showed that the ability to read your partner's mind, also known as empathic accuracy, averages only about 30 to 35%, which means that around 65 or 70% of the time, your partner is going to read your mind incorrectly. And nothing can cause an argument more than an incorrect assumption or an inaccurately read mind. Here's an example. Ron and John are having a discussion about whose in-laws to visit for which holidays. Ron's for Thanksgiving and John's for Hanukkah, or the other way around. John is by nature a slower processor when it comes to making a firm decision. So as the discussion continues, John gets quiet, going inward in his mind to carefully weigh the pros and cons so he can more thoughtfully respond to the topic at hand. Ron interprets John's silence as indifference and says, "You know what, just forget it. It's obvious you don't care. You never liked my parents anyway. Come to think of it, why don't we just spend the holidays apart this year?" So this may seem like a dramatic example, but it also clearly illustrates just how quickly mind reading can turn an otherwise benign conversation into a full-blown argument. And enough of these caustic interactions over time can really have a negative impact, very, very much like death by 1,000 cuts. So what can you do? One is to simply remind yourself of the actual science. Trying to guess your partner's state of mind or their needs or their wants is really nothing more than a crapshoot, and you're much more likely to get it wrong than to get it right. So you're way safer to operate from what the Buddhists call unknowing mind, which means that you assume that you don't know what your partner's thinking, and you instead gently inquire. So instead of jumping to conclusions, saying something a little bit more like, "Hey John, you got a little quiet just then. What are your thoughts on the subject?" could have easily diverted this near breakup blow up. Another thing you can do is to ask yourself, what if I looked at this from a less defensive perspective? Adopting this stance will help prevent your mind from automatically interpreting things negatively. And it's important to remember that individuals who are raised in high-conflict family situations may be more prone to interpret things negatively, since their early experiences taught them over and over that negative is the norm. So if you're on the receiving end, reminding yourself that your partner may be reacting from an old script can be helpful. So if you want to stop an argument before it even begins, the very first thing to do is to stop trying to read your partner's mind. Secondly, ask yourself how the situation might appear if you took a less defensive stance. Thirdly, practice using a knowing mind, suspending how you think the interaction might go and instead allowing it to unfold in real time. If you found this audio helpful, check out the 28-Day Relationship Rehab Workbook by me, Mary Delaney, available now at Amazon in Kindle and in print.